Quite a few issues to get across from around the world. Let's bring in the international panel tonight. Former Labor MP for Melbourne Ports, Michael Danby, and Sky's contributor, Kosha Garda. Let's start, if we can, with these worrying signs out of China, Michael. We've got a statement from the Politburo Secretary, and it says, and I'll quote it here, "We must resolutely crack down on the infiltration and sabotage activities of hostile forces according to law, resolutely crack down on illegal and criminal acts and disrupt social order according to law, and earnestly safeguard the overall stability and society." This is not going to end well, is it?
No. Sadly, Xi will maintain power. Their police internal security budget is larger, Peter, than their military budget. And the communist arrogance has meant that they've refused to get effective Western vaccines. Only 50% of seniors in China are vaccinated. So they're getting this terrible lockdown repression, and they may get a full-out COVID plague as well. So they have the worst of both worlds. And I pray that one day we'll see the women liberate Tehran, the Ukrainians liberate Ukraine, and the good old citizens of China rise up against communist repression. But I don't think it's happening soon.
And of course, they have a harsh winter coming up, which we know makes COVID worse. But it's also the economic damage, Kosha, isn't it? Not just the human rights abuses.
Hugely. So within their country as well, just given the mass population and shutting down entire swaths of society doesn't bode well economically. We saw that right here, of course, as did many Western countries. But also the global supply chain pressures only increase with that. And it really, really shines a light on this issue of supply chain reliance on China, that the whole Western sphere has just sort of turned a blind eye to, or been derelict, I would say, in that, where anytime this happens over there, you just see the pressures of that mount and the ramifications economically of it follow through, all throughout the world.
Let's go to Qatar. Been very interesting watching the play out of the World Cup and the continuing concern about the human rights abuses there, Michael. A high-ranking Qatari official says before a handful of people died, now they're saying it's close to 400 to 500. Now, if it's 400 to 500 in official terms, you and I know it's a lot higher than that.
Yes, and plaudits to Craig Foster, the Socceroos captain, who refused to go over there and is broadcasting about the cup from here. I think the longer they're on, Peter, the worse the PR is for Qatar. I mean, this comes out, their absolutely rude treatment of LGBTQ people and other minorities. It's a terrible advertisement for Qatar. There are wonderful countries in the Arab Gulf, like the UAE, that could have been a place to have this cup, or even better, as Mr Lowy wanted and as Craig Foster wanted, in Sydney. Can you imagine this being done in Sydney? Would have been a lot better than in this terrible hellhole.
Yeah, but we go back to a crooked FIFA, really, don't we? Because that was all the concern at the time, that this was a rigged vote.
That's right, and I think this issue illustrates a collision between PR and branding and causes, human rights and migrant workers, labour laws, etc., and money. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. Whether it's FIFA, whether it's Qatar itself, even if they suffer on PR.
Very good. Kosha, money won this time.
Yeah, it often does.
Talk to me about Extinction Rebellion, because there's now an offshoot. What are they calling themselves? Tyre extinguishers. They're in the UK. They're letting down the tyres of SUVs, anything they think consumes too much fossil fuel, Michael. I tell you, the view in the teal seats will change when someone turns up and starts slashing their tyres for climate change. Well,
there was a teal celebration for Monique Ryan in Hawthorn, and they're all Porsches and BMWs, and so they're going to be in a lot of problems. But at what point does this end? So the Philistines are attacking our central art culture. They're now attacking people's private property. Will they murder oil executives or government officials because they don't agree with them? Because they're righteous. At some point, this has got to stop, and people have got to say enough is enough.
We might have a grab to play for my viewers now. This is the Prime Minister in the Parliament today, speaking on the issue of Julian Assange.
I, some time ago, made my point that enough is enough. Can I assure the member for Kooyong that I have raised this personally with representatives of the United States government?
Well, Well, going on the briefings I got about this bloke, Kosher, I agree with the PM. It should be brought to a head. But for me, that means send him to the US, put him in front of a US court. And if that means he's locked up for the rest of his natural life, so be it.
This is a controversial topic. Obviously, he's not a sympathetic figure. And if you look at the outcome of some of the things that happened with those leaks, that would explain why. Let me present the other side, for why some people would agree with what Prime Minister Albanese is saying. One is it's about, I think, Australia's position relative to Big Brother US and kind of should they stand up to the rights of a citizen, bring them here and have them in this court versus just outsourcing it to the US and assuming that system will run its course fairly. And then the other issue really is WikiLeaks considered a publisher or not? Because we've heralded a lot of newspapers and media or entities who have leaked things in the past, from the Pentagon Papers to other things. And there's a group of people who favor that but don't favor this, and they draw a distinction between WikiLeaks versus a journalistic organization. And there is a growing body of people that don't see that distinction, that support him. So I think that's the other side, but he's definitely an unsympathetic figure.
Michael?
The ex-deputy of WikiLeaks begged Julian Assange not to release unredacted State Department stolen files. He did. And many people say there were fatal outcomes as the result of that. I think it should be judged in the US court. If he's as innocent as he says he is, instead of running away from courts all these years, he would have been out long ago. I think it's... I'm with Hillary Clinton and General Petraeus on this. I don't agree with the Prime Minister that enough is enough. He should go in front of a fair trial, an open one, and be judged.
Absolutely. Just quickly, Christianity, no longer the case for England, Kosher, or Wales?
Yes, I think it's the predictable consequence of immigration policy and also just the secularization of these countries. And there's another side to it where you see pornography and drugs and alcohol and all this stuff on the rise simultaneously with the decline in Christianity. And I think there's a correlation between the two, and that some sort of renaissance of Christianity might be beneficial.
And the decline of the family too, Michael.
I think the UK's managed it quite well, both in Birmingham and London. There's a great affection for what they call their Asian minority. But people like Doug Murray object to the fact that a lot of this has been decided without the British people having a vote or any decision on this. So, as we know with immigration policy in any country, it's much more acceptable if the population agrees to it.